if you're going to try and harden steel and you're using metal that you found, I would recommend finding something with teeth on it. So a hacksaw blade, sawzall blade, a jigsaw blade. This is a metal cutting blade. The teeth are very fine, but you can see there's teeth on here. So these steels are hardenable. This is that piece of strapping steel from a pallet, and I'm not really sure if it's hardenable, but it's so thin that if you sharpen it, it'll work as a carving tool. And here is the purchased steel, and it comes in a package like this, and you can see it says O1 oil hardening. So this steel can be hardened, and you can buy whatever size you desire. Why are we talking about making tools out of metal when you can trim a pot with a sharp stick? The short answer is you need to sharpen the piece of wood more often. And why would you choose an old saw blade rather than a piece of metal that you find laying on the ground somewhere? Well, this steel is hardenable, and mild steel, or the most common steel you'll find in a hardware store, cannot be hardened. Now, is that a big deal? The answer is really no, because a sharp piece of metal will stay sharp cutting clay a lot longer than a sharp piece of wood. Why do people use these tools that cost much more than the inexpensive versions that ceramic supply stores sell as well? Well, the answer is these stay sharp a very long time, and that's the reason why you want to use hardenable steel to make your trimming tools with. Different steels are hardened different ways. There are some steels that are air quenched or cooled with a blast of air. This is best dunked in peanut oil, something that has a high flash point that won't start on fire when you dip a red hot piece of metal into it. If I were making a knife for wood carving, I would harden the knife with oil. But for a clay tool, what I'm going to do will work just fine. In order to safely heat treat metal, you need a surface that's fireproof. And since we're in the ceramic studio, I have a kiln shelf and some soft bricks here. And you need something to hold the metal with, and you should always wear gloves. You'll burn yourself otherwise. We're using a map torch to heat up the metal. You can just use a propane torch, that works fine. This makes a hotter flame. And for the scale of the material we're working with here, a propane torch is perfectly adequate. This steel is now hard, but it's not tempered. Hard steel is brittle, and tempering makes the steel tougher and less brittle. You can see that hard steel breaks very easily, so this would not work as a carving tool. I would choose the metal that I was going to work with based on the size of the beginning stock. These are actually different thicknesses, and this is obviously smaller to start off with. So if I wanted to make a small knife, starting with this wouldn't make a lot of sense. Our first step is going to be to anneal the metal to make it easier to sharpen and shape. The O1 steel comes half hard, so it doesn't require this process. But these are hard and they need to be softened first. To anneal this steel, we'll heat it up till it's red hot non-magnetic and let it cool very slowly. A knife maker or a blacksmith would do this and put the red hot metal into a bucket of ash, and that would insulate the metal so it would cool slowly. What I'll do is heat this up and then pull the torch away slowly to give it time to cool. this is a magnet just stuck to another piece of metal, and this is the way I can test the temperature for hardening or annealing. The metal loses its magnetic qualities once it's at the temperature that you need to anneal or harden.